Hello, guys. It's Erin and Luca here from the Avantgarde team. We're gonna give you a very nice sneak peek into Sulu on what's coming in the next few weeks. We're gonna start with the homepage, the new revamped homepage, which has been has been fine-tuned by the front-end team in the last months. Very hard work there. Then we're going to move on to see the templates that you can use to create your own vault, because the creation process has become a bit more complex than the previous version. So it's very easy to use those templates according to your profiles. And then we're going to go with Erin. He will walk us through like the vault creation step by step to see what needs to be done in order to configure your own vaults. And lastly, we're gonna talk about how to manage those assets and those tokens once your vault is set up. So first of all, we're gonna talk about the homepage. Now I think you see the share screen. On the right hand side at the top, you see the button sign up. We talked about yesterday about this. This is quite a Web 2 feature, but it's very useful because since Enzyme is actually planning to increase the speed of integration of new features, protocols, and tokens. So vault managers need to stay on top of it. So need to get the latest information about all the upgrades. So because at the end of the day, access to information is alpha, and in this very specific game, alpha is actually the name of the game. So here you can actually sign up using your email. Your Google, there's also Google integration, very convenient, and you can also use like a classic Connect wallet with your MetaMask or Wallet Connect for your, for example, your Gnosis Safe. You have a multi-signature setup there. Going back to the homepage, you see right now we have a dual network. We're deploying also on Polygon. We talked about about this yesterday. Polygon will be a much cheaper option. Actually, we made some calculation, and turns out that it's actually like 1,000 times cheaper to deploy on Polygon. We will see that because we will deploy a new vault live during this presentation. But it's actually like Polygon and Ethereum comes with actually a very interesting trade-off, because on the one hand you have much lower gas fees for creation and also for management. So it's all trades and staking and moving assets around DeFi. So that's like much lower gas costs. But on the other hand, we have a much wider spectrum of possibility integrations and tokens into Ethereum. So it actually really comes down to what you want in terms of the best trade-off between one solution and the other. Moving on, we have on the left side, you see now one of the vaults that Erin has created. You can actually easily switch from one to the other if you create multiple vaults. If you're like a vault manager for different clients, for example, that want to access DeFi, you can create different vaults for them, and you can easily and seamlessly switch from one to the next without mixing them up. Third, we're gonna go and click on the plus on the oh, sorry, no, wait, sorry, go back. Actually, I was missing one important piece. You see the rest of the homepage. Now there's like a much better segmentation of the vaults. We have a section with the top gainers. We have a section on top. This at the moment is actually ranked by 24-hour performance. We were discussing this internally, and we will probably change it to something like performance since inception or in the last month. I mean, anyway, we will change it to more like a long-term alpha generation. So we will highlight really the best and most consistent vault managers. That's I think it's important to give them like full visibility on this platform. And moving down, you have like the second section is more like for vault managers, where you can discover all the vaults, and you can discover all the supported assets, or the asset universe that we have right now on Polygon. We will not go into details here because you can go and look it up. You will be able to look it up easily. But let's just say right now you have around 30 assets on Polygon, and you will have more like 50 at the time of deployment in a few weeks. and we will try and add more and more as we go in the future, not just tokens, but also integration wherever possible. Erin will talk about that a bit more in the later. Then we have more like newest vaults. So like, of course, like creation date, that is the criteria for ranking. We have the most popular vaults. So like, I think that's the most, the biggest number of depositors. So that's the ranking criteria for popular vaults. And we have the last, which is largest vault, I think. Yeah, that's like the biggest vaults ranked by AUM, or asset under management. So these are like the most, the bottom line here, the takeaway is, no, you can actually move ahead, but like the takeaway here is that we have thought about different ways to categorize information. Like right now we have just a simple leaderboard ranking, which is a bit simplistic. Now we move into a more specific segmentation of the vaults, which give, on the one hand, more visibility to the vault managers according to this criteria, but also gives a better overview to the depositors to find the right match for their requirements. Okay, so moving on, we click on the left hand side on plus, and we create the vault. Here, I won't go much into details of the whole configuration because I'll leave it to Erin, who's much more experienced than me on this aspect. But let me just say that these are three different templates that we actually have designed for you, or like this is like a way for you to reduce the complexity of vault creation, because you'll see it's quite a longer process. And so here you see three options which differ in degree of trust, basically between depositors and vault managers. And we go from the like 100% trustless option, which is more like for a degen, anonymous degen manager that wants to raise crypto funds. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have the totally private vaults, so where like there's full trust between all the parties. And we also have like the trusted vault owner, which is like a sort of like it's more like a real world asset manager that wants to take clients into DeFi and earn yields on the different integrations. So taking that those three profiles, we have translated that into templates, into hardwired policies that are applied to the three different profiles. And obviously, if you want to take 100% control over the creation process, you can scroll down and you can go and click on create from scratch. And Erin now will talk about some of these settings, and some of them are editable, some of them are semi-permanent. There's actually a way to change it up once the vault is created. But yeah, I'll leave it to Erin that will walk us through very detailed way on all the aspects. So thank you very much. And by the way, we have a Q&A session. Since this is the last session, we can leave some room for Q&A at the end. So I'll be looking at the right end of the chat room, and I'll be sort of selecting the most interesting question for the whole community. So thank you very much.
Cool. Thanks, Luca. Before I get into this, I just wanted to hammer home one point about the templates here. They are essentially the process that I'm about to go through. There are a bunch of different steps. The template is just pre-filling a bunch of those steps with our suggested inputs. So if you select the trustless one, it's going to add these settings to the steps that follow. You can then edit them if you want to. But yeah, just a little bit on what those templates are. So the setup process is a little bit longer than it used to be, but I think it's also more configurable. One thing you need to know about the settings that I'm about to configure, there are three different types: permanent, semi-permanent, and sort of infinitely configurable. Permanent ones can't be changed, or can't be changed on our front end. Those are set in stone. You won't have the option to change them in the future. Semi-permanent are settings that are changeable but require a cooldown period. So essentially what will happen is if you want to change a semi-permanent setting, you'll trigger a fund reconfiguration. And after you've triggered that, your investors have, or a vault reconfiguration, excuse me. After you've triggered that, your investors have 7 days in which they can redeem their funds if they don't like the settings that you've changed. During those 7 days, you can't manage the fund really in any way. And it's just giving your the depositors in your vault an option to leave. And then editable settings, you can change willy-nilly whenever you like. So I'll go through the process here. E to demo vault. Another new feature in Sulu is that the token your depositors receive is customizable. So you'll notice that all the old Enzyme vaults have ENZF tokens. I'm going to name this E2 for the win. Those can be, I think we limit it to 8 characters, but you have a little bit of flexibility for what you want to be in here. Denomination asset, this is what depositors will be able to deposit into your vault. And it's also how all of the accounting, it's the value against which all of your accounting will be run. Next step is fees. So on top of this sort of canonical management and performance fees, we also have entrance and exit fees. These are new to Sulu and basically allow you to charge people for minting new shares of the vault or for exiting the vault. One nuance for this exit fee, a new feature of Sulu is that instead of automatically receiving just a pro rata share of all assets that your vault holds when they redeem their shares, and depositors will be able to specify a specific asset that they want to receive the value of their shares in. So because that adds a little bit of complexity to the manager's workload, you can incentivize people to just do the in-kind redemption by charging different fees for each. Another new feature of Sulu is that the recipient of all of these fees can be customized. So by default, it always goes to the vault owner, the management and performance fees. But the entrance fees, you can either have them go to the vault or the manager or any arbitrary address you'd like to there. So I'll charge an exit fee. I'm not going to charge an entrance fee. And I think I'm going to do 2 and 20. Deposits. So this is limiting who can deposit into your vault and how much they can deposit at any given time. I'm going to add my own address here. These are editable after the fact, so you can always add or remove addresses from this list. I'm not going to, set limits on the deposits, but you could, if you wanted to, set a floor and a ceiling, as well as reject all deposits. This is kind of helpful if you deploy a vault and are getting the hang of things before you actually start investing or before you actually start accepting deposits. I'm not going to configure that. Another new feature of Sulu is that shares are transferable, so that by default, a depositor can send the shares they get of your vault to any other Ethereum address. If you don't want that to be the case, you can enable this setting and add addresses to this list. I'm actually going to disable it. Anybody can have these if they want them. Redemption. So this controls how investors or depositors can pull value out of your vault. If you don't enable this policy, which is restricting assets for redemption, then depositors will be able to choose any asset that you hold and redeem their shares for the equal amount of that asset, which makes it sort of hard to predict and manage a portfolio if people are just pulling their value out of any of random assets. So I'm going to enable that and say that you can definitely redeem assets for a single asset, but I want it to be DAI because that's my denomination asset. And excuse me, I want it to be DAI because that's my denomination asset, and I can manage around that. the specific asset redemption threshold says that if a depositor wants to redeem in DAI, they can do so as long as after the redemption, I have X amount of DAI left. So I'm going to say 1,000. I always want to have 1,000 DAI available in my vault. If somebody tries to redeem their shares in DAI and it would drop my asset or my balance below 1,000, this will prevent that from happening. Guaranteed redemption period. This is not really applicable on Polygon, but the way synthetics works, they have a delayed settlement window, meaning that you make a trade and then it's not immediately, you don't immediately have the token that you traded for. This causes some weirdness in Enzyme Vault share price calculations and prevents deposit or withdrawals while that settlement process is happening. So enabling this just means that the vault won't be allowed to trade on synthetics during a specific period on every day. This is guaranteeing that investors, depositors will always have access to their funds. And then the shares lockup period just defines how long a new depositor has to hold their shares before they can sell them, transfer them, do anything with them, really. I'll keep that at a day. Right, asset management section controls how your vault can interact with DeFi. So you can limit the adapters that your vault can use. Again, it's important to note that this is semi-permanent, so changing this and adding new adapters after you've configured your vault requires a 7-day cooldown period. If you don't have it enabled, you can by default interact with any adapter that's that we've written for the Enzyme protocol. I'm not going to enable this, but you could if you wanted to. External positions are a new concept in Sulu as well, and they're very similar to adapters. They're essentially a different architecture for interacting with some specific DeFi protocols. The first one we'll launch is compound debt positions, so you'll be able to borrow on Compound, which is super exciting. They also just announced that they're going multi-chain, so hopefully they will be deploying to Polygon and we'll be able to borrow here as well. Since it's not applicable on Polygon, I'm just going to ignore that as well. There will also, just as a note here, and I'm sure it's come up throughout the rest of V2, but other external positions will be stuff like Uniswap v3 liquidity positions. I'm blanking on other things, but there's a bunch of other stuff in the pipeline that Yvonne and Luca talked about yesterday. Cumulative slippage tolerance is actually the next three are settings that are protective of your depositors. So cumulative slippage tolerance essentially is keeping track of the bad trades that you make. And if the slippage from the trades that you make over a 7-day period exceeds this amount, you'll be locked out of managing the vault until the that average or that tolerance ticks down, so over the course of the next couple of days. I'll set that at 10%. Not a lot of liquidity on Polygon. I'm going to set it at 20%. These are policies that are very similar, and they have to do with the way your vault's accounting works. So all the value in your vault's external positions and all the value in the assets that your vault holds are combined to create a share price, which in turn calculates fees and all sorts of things. This is saying that you cannot untrack an external position or an asset that does not have a dust level balance. So you couldn't, for example, hide a bunch of value in an external position and then remove the external position for various nefarious reasons. I will add both of those. Cool. So now we are at the review stage. Pretty self-explanatory here. I'm confident in what I just did, so I'm not going to read through it. And I'm going to go ahead and create this vault. So Luca wanted to point this out, I think. The fee for creating a vault on Enzyme with a bunch of policies configured is currently 78 cents. You hopefully can't see it, but I'm confirming this interaction in MetaMask.
There's a quick question, Erin. Maybe we can answer that directly. Can we also build custom fees and rule sets? So before we actually go into the management part, I think we can answer that question.
Yeah, in theory, you can absolutely build custom fees and rule sets. In order for them to be integrated with this particular Enzyme front end, they'd have to be approved by the council, which is, not a hugely insurmountable problem at all. But yeah, the short answer is that yes, you can build custom fees and rule sets.
Great.
Cool. So I've now created this vault. I'm going to go ahead and deposit into it. You can see we have similar mechanics on the front end of the current Enzyme app. You can either deposit in the denomination asset, which I actually have some of, I didn't realize, or the base token of the chain on which you're interacting. So in this case, Matic. I'll do the Matic because they have more of those. Just a reminder, but thank you. Go ahead and deposit here. Again, you can see just really cheap. Yeah, so that's that. Once that DAI, so what's happening behind the scenes is that we're swapping Matic for DAI, and you can see I'm in. It takes a minute for our subgraph to update. So I will switch to something that has funds in it already. Right. So on the left-hand side here, we have a bunch of, or we have essentially where you would manage this vault. I'm going to start with trading. I will swap this for some, it doesn't matter. Swap all of my DAI for compound. And yeah, you can see that working on Paraswap in the background. Pools and staking. We currently don't have any integrations on the Polygon deployment of Enzyme for pools and staking. I can see a world, because Uniswap's got a Polygon deployment and Curve has a Polygon deployment. I imagine that we will have both of those options here for pools. And you'll probably be able to stake on Curve. No time commitment on that, but soon. Yield. We do have Aave integrated with a Polygon deployment. And borrowing, we don't have anything at the moment, but as I said earlier, Compound hopefully will be deployed soonish, and that will be an opportunity for you to borrow on the Polygon deployment. And we're also working on Aave borrowing, which should happen relatively soon as well. So yeah, that's sort of it. And as Luca mentioned earlier, the feature set that's available on Polygon is more limited, but you can see what you give up there, you make up for in transaction fees.
Absolutely, yeah. So thank you very much, Erin. Well, let's go with the couple of questions that I've seen. The first one was, does the share lockup period protect against if someone wants to make a very profitable trade against the vault with flash loans?
Yeah, that's one instance. Yes. won't go into how that would work, but yes, that is one thing that it does.
And the other question is like, what will the process be for the current managers to transition over to Polygon?
Unfortunately, the Enzyme deployment on mainnet Ethereum and the Enzyme deployment on Polygon are two distinct deployments. So there's no way to migrate your vault from one chain to another. So the process would likely be fairly elaborate, shutting down your vault on mainnet and migrating doing some communicating with your depositors, and then moving to a fresh new vault on Polygon.
Yep, we have another question. Actually, we haven't touched upon that. We can show that too. How does the changing those configuration option you mentioned work? So how to reconfigure the vault?
Right. So on the settings page here, you can go to this reconfigure tab. Sorry, there's a different vault, but it's the same in principle. Yeah, so what you do is change, say I wanted to up my management fee to 5%, and that's the only thing I want to change. I'll go through, and these are all the same steps as we went through on fund setup, vault setup.
And Erin, this is where we get the 7-day cool-off period, right?
Yeah, exactly. So during the 7-day cool-off period, if you know your investors, you should let them know that this is happening, and they can come in and check the new settings, and they'll be able to see the difference here. Eventually, we'll, depending on sort of how a couple other projects progress, we'll hopefully build a notification service on Ethereum itself. That's a ways out, so that your depositors would be able, they would hear automatically.
Very good. Let's see also the asset universe list on Polygon, the current one.
This is, I think maybe the better place to look for the asset universe list on Polygon is Chainlink. This is, the beta was very much just we didn't think a ton about the asset universe that we were using in the beta, but we will be more thoughtful based on what's available from Chainlink with price feeds.
All right. I see no more questions. Oh, no, there's another one. What are the supported DEXs and aggregators on Poly?
Aggregators, Paraswap, and I think that's it at the moment, actually. But that gets you, basically every DEX on Polygon. And as I said, Uniswap, we deployed this on Polygon like 2 days before the Uniswap governance vote to deploy Uniswap on Polygon, so we didn't integrate, but we could and likely will at some point soon.
All right. If there's no more questions, I think we can wrap it up. And we will have this recording available in the next few days. So for anybody who has missed this, this material will be available for you to watch or rewatch. I saw also there were some technical glitches, some lag. So anyways, in the future, we will also record some other videos, like demos, in order to try and minimize the complexity of this process. And hopefully this will make your life easier when it comes to launching your own vaults. So thanks again. Thank you very much for being here. And from Erin and I, well, Erin, if you want to close with a few words, I'll see you soon.
That's all I got. Thanks, Luca.